He was 15 years old and already knew how to take a life, not out of defense, not out of anger, but for power, for control, for pleasure. This is the story of Juan Fernando Hermosa, a teenager who turned the streets of Quito into a hunting ground during the 1990s. They called him the Child of Terror. And it wasn't just a nickname. But what you're about to hear is not just the story of a killer, it's the portrait of a broken country, a blind system, a lost childhood that grew into the nightmare of an entire city. In the early 1990s, Ecuador was a country caught in political instability and economic crisis. Inflation was out of control, public trust in institutions had collapsed, and in the margins of the city, violence and poverty had long since taken root. Juan Fernando Hermosa was born in Chuchufindi, in the northeastern province of Sucumbíos, but he was raised in the southern neighborhoods of Quito, specifically in La Magdalena, an underprivileged area where survival was a daily battle, and juvenile crime was part of the scenery. His childhood was marked by abandonment and instability. His biological mother, reportedly suffering from mental illness, gave him away when he was just a child. His father, never known, never there. He was passed from home to home, until finally being taken in by Amanda Suarez Mejia, a humble seamstress who raised him as her own. Despite never formalizing the adoption, Amanda tried to steer him in the right direction. She gave him a home, warmth, and discipline, but the streets had louder lessons. Juan Fernando grew up torn between two worlds, one inside, with a woman doing her best to protect him with what little she had, and one outside, full of temptation, fast power, and impunity. And it was out there, in the shadows of the city, that something darker began to take root inside him, something that no one noticed until it was far too late. By age 14, Juan Fernando had already handled weapons. At 15, he was leading a group of teenage delinquents. That same year, he began to kill. His primary targets? Taxi drivers. His method was cold and effective. He posed as a regular passenger, asked to be driven to secluded or dangerous areas, and once there, he would shoot the driver point blank, usually in the head, and leave the body behind. He stole their cars, used them to show off, or simply stripped them down. But it wasn't just about money. For Hermosa, crime became a tool for power, for status, for control. But there was another group he targeted as well: gay men. According to various reports, Hermosa would approach them in known meeting spots around the city. He gained their trust and then attacked, often with fatal outcomes. Why these two groups? Taxi drivers worked late, alone, and in isolated areas, making them easy prey. Gay men, in a deeply conservative Quito, live in fear of stigma. Homosexuality was still criminalized in Ecuador at the time, which meant attackers knew that victims were less likely to report the crimes. Whatever the cause, the result was the same: cold, calculated, merciless violence. The city began to tremble. Each new murder was more brutal than the last. Each new body, a symbol of impunity. And while the police searched for answers, the face of the killer remained an invisible ghost among the streets. The murders became a recurring headline in the nightly news. Fear spread like wildfire, until someone finally spoke. January 1992, the police launched a special operation to capture him. They found him asleep in his home. With him was Amanda. When the officers burst in, Amanda Suarez Mejia was shot multiple times. She died in her bed. The official story labeled it a tactical error, but years later, Ecuador's Attorney General's office confirmed what many suspected. It was an extrajudicial killing, silenced, buried, forgotten, for more than 2 decades. That same day, Hermosa was arrested, cold, silent, unflinching. As a minor, he received the maximum sentence allowed by law, 4 years in a juvenile rehabilitation center. Many called it a mockery. Others, a tragedy that no one dared to face in full. In 1996, having served his sentence, Hermosa returned to the streets, but he was not reformed. Some say he fled north, across the border into Colombia. Others claim he got involved in high-stakes robberies, targeting jewelry stores, but his face was too well known. He didn't last long in hiding. Then, on February 28, 1996, his 20th birthday, Juan Fernando Hermosa was found dead in Nueva Loja, Sucumbíos. His body was tied with wire, slashed, tortured, shot multiple times with heavy caliber rounds. The police never solved the case. No one was charged. No one confessed. The file was quietly closed, as if it had all been just a shadowy score to settle. Hermosa left this world the only way he had known it: murdered. According to police records, he claimed at least 23 victims, but many believe the true number was higher. Juan Fernando Hermosa was a monster, yes, but he was also a symptom of an absent system, of a childhood left unprotected, of a city that looked the other way until it was too late. And you, do you think someone is born this way?